Right now on Good Morning America First Look, holiday weekend washout, flash flooding causing travel delays and forcing risky rescues, including more than 24 Boy Scouts stranded along a fast-moving river.
50,000 people under evacuation orders overnight amid fears that a tank containing a toxic chemical could explode. Why a crack now visible in the tank could be good news.
The shooting outside the White House. What we're now learning about the suspect, and overnight the Trump administration revealing new details about the proposed White House ballroom and what will be installed on the roof.
The tributes to NASCAR legend Kyle Busch on racing's biggest day. The outpouring of support for his wife and 2 children.
The shocking moment a plane collides with this paraglider in midair, sending her falling thousands of feet. How she survived.
A sporting event like none other. We take you to the Enhanced Games, where performance-enhancing drugs are allowed.
Plus, this group of nuns stealing the show during the NBA playoffs.
And the boy driving a hard bargain over a special home run ball that a major league player wanted. How this big trade finally went down.
From ABC News, this is Good Morning America First Look.
Good Monday morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Memorial Day. I'm Sophie Flay.
And I'm Hanna Battah. We begin with the holiday weather and travel delays.
Thousands of flights have been canceled or delayed, and things on the road have also been challenging. Powerful storms stretching from the south to the northeast have washed away Memorial Day weekend plans for millions. Heavy rain and strong winds pounding the Texas Panhandle. These people rushing to pack up their picnic. This funnel cloud spotted near Lubbock, lit up by flashes of lightning. Downpours triggering severe flash flooding across the region, inundating neighborhoods, water rising to the windows of this home, and washing out roads in Birmingham, Alabama, making travel treacherous. Farther north, crews near Cincinnati recovering this abandoned vehicle trapped in floodwaters.
Several Boy Scouts stranded out there in the river.
In West Virginia, a Boy Scout troop found themselves stranded along the Capon River as water levels began rising rapidly.
We had a couple of scouts that tipped over and they went into the river. And as we tried to do our prepared for recovery, it became clear that the water current was very strong.
The scouts initially moving toward land for safety before realizing they were on the opposite side of the river from their cabins and road access. A swift water rescue team soon responding, ferrying nearly 30 scouts and their leaders to safety. The wet weather continues into New England today before drying out. Warmer temperatures are on the way for much of the eastern half of the country through midweek. Meanwhile, in the west, it wasn't the rain causing issues, but this massive dust devil tearing across a dirt field in Arizona. The weather is blamed for 6,000 flight delays and hundreds of cancellations yesterday alone.
Some 50,000 residents of Orange County, California, were still under evacuation orders overnight because of concern that a pressurized tank filled with a toxic chemical could explode. Sprinklers at this aerospace facility are cooling the tank, which is in Garden Grove, California. It contains methyl methacrylate. Overnight, crews were testing to see if a crack in the tank had released pressure, which would reduce or eliminate the threat of a major explosion.
So the thing about the crack is what we're looking for. It's going to relieve pressure. We want the pressure relieved out of that tank. There could still be an explosion. The explosion could be caused by the material in there. It'd be an explosion.
It's still unclear what made the material in the tank overheat in the first place.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio said overnight a peace deal with Iran is still a work in progress. President Trump yesterday announced a deal was close, raising hopes that oil might start flowing soon through the Strait of Hormuz. But Trump later told negotiators not to rush. Sources say the emerging deal includes opening the Strait of Hormuz, ending the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports, and getting nuclear commitments from Iran.
We have what I think is a pretty solid thing on the table in terms of their ability to open up the straits, get the straits open, enter into a very real, significant, time-limited negotiation on the nuclear matters, and hopefully we can pull it off.
So far, Iran has not publicly committed to giving up its highly enriched uranium.
New details about the deadly shooting outside the White House Saturday. The suspect was well known to authorities.
This morning, the Trump administration once again making its case for the president's ballroom after another shooting outside the White House.
Everybody inside, get inside.
The president was in the Oval Office when officials say the suspect approached a security checkpoint, took out a gun from a bag, and began to shoot. Journalists outside the White House running for cover.
Only for the two sides to remain far apart.
No. We have to evacuate shooting. We have to evacuate shooting.
I was meters away preparing to go live on air when I heard a flurry of gunshots. My crew and I quickly ducked for cover, then sprinted across the north lawn with the rest of the White House press corps.
Officers say they fired back, killing the suspect. No Secret Service personnel were injured, but a bystander was hit and is in stable condition. Officials say the suspect, identified as 21-year-old Nasir Best, has a history of incidents involving the White House. They say he was involuntarily committed for a mental evaluation last year after blocking a point of entry, but a month later was arrested for allegedly trying to enter a White House checkpoint. President Trump is using this latest incident to argue his controversial White House ballroom is necessary. And overnight, the Justice Department revealing just how secure the ballroom will be, saying the roof will include a drone port and key location for rooftop snipers who will protect the White House and the entire Washington, D.C. area, and will be hermetically sealed. Saturday's shooting came less than a month after the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner and less than 3 weeks after officers shot a man near the Washington Monument after they say he opened fire on a Secret Service officer.
It remains to be seen if this latest shooting will sway any more Republicans to support the ballroom project.
Russia has fired a powerful hypersonic missile during a massive attack on Ukraine's capital city. 4 people were killed and dozens were injured. Russian officials say it was retaliation for Ukrainian attacks Friday, including a deadly strike on a university dorm. Ukraine denied responsibility for that attack.
Now to the emotional tributes to NASCAR legend Kyle Busch, who died last week at age 41 from complications of pneumonia. His family there, as fans and fellow drivers, remembered him on racing's biggest day. Here's ABC's Allison Cossack.
An emotional tribute and moment of silence for NASCAR legend Kyle Busch and his family at the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte last night, a race Busch was supposed to compete in.
He competed like he had something to prove every single race, when in reality, he'd already proven everything. What I think we'll miss most isn't the wins. It's the guy who quietly wanted to help a teammate or give some advice. It was the husband, the father, or the guy who quietly did things for others when no one was watching.
Busch's family, including his wife Samantha and 2 children, stood on one end of pit road to honor and remember him. Another driver's son even trying to console Busch's son, Brexton, who recently turned 11.
Samantha, I want you to know that this sport stands with you, and that you and your children are NASCAR family forever.
Kyle Busch's blue and white Chevrolet was pushed onto the rainy track. Richard Childress Racing retiring Busch's number 8, replacing it with the number 33. It will be unretired for Brexton if he chooses to follow in his dad's footsteps. Busch died suddenly last week from what his family says was severe pneumonia that progressed into sepsis. He was just 41.
On lap 18, we remember Kyle Busch.
The racing world also honoring Busch at the Indianapolis 500. On lap 18, race officials lighting up the scoring pylon in tribute to Busch. Busch and his wife had struggles with fertility and started a charity that helped couples pay for IVF treatments. Some are now honoring his memory by donating to that cause. Sophie, Hannah?
All right, Allison, thanks. And one note about the Indy 500, it was the closest finished ever. Felix Rosenqvist won the race by just 2/100ths of a second.
Time now for your Memorial Day weather.
Good morning. On this Memorial Day, we're tracking the possibility of flash flooding across portions of the southeast, the same areas that ironically have been dealing with a drought for the past several months. To getting too much of a good thing with terms of rainfall. Northwestern parts of Georgia under a flood watch, also southeastern portions of Louisiana during the day today. That rainfall exiting the northeast cities by midday, some sunshine returning during the afternoon. 75 New York City, hot in the upper Midwest. Some showers entering the Pacific Northwest from Seattle to Portland. Meteorologist Jeff Smith, ABC News.
Coming up, the eye-opening price people are paying for NBA Finals tickets.
But first, another so-called team takeover. 5 police officers are hit on the street.
And the shocking moment, a plane collides with this paraglider in mid-air, sending her falling thousands of feet. Back now with 5 Chicago police officers hit by a car during a so-called teen takeover. Police say officers were breaking up a crowd when an 18-year-old driver jumped a curb and ran into them. Police say the teens came from a prom after-party that got out of control. All 5 officers are expected to be okay.
The deadly Ebola outbreak in Central Africa is growing. More than 900 cases are now reported, with 115 deaths now confirmed in the DR Congo. There's been another attack on a hospital treating patients as families demand they be allowed to pick up the bodies of their loved ones. Meanwhile, anyone traveling to the U.S. from that region of Africa must be screened at either Dulles Airport or at airports in Atlanta or Houston.
Now to a shocking mid-air collision and the paraglider who survived it.
This is the moment a plane collides with the canopy of a paraglider, sending her plunging to Earth. The woman, named Sabrina, posted the video of her flying in the Austrian Alps when the plane rams through her parachute. The canopy ripping apart, she plummets to the ground. Moments later, she's able to pull a secondary chute and land safely. Tracking data shows Sabrina's flight over the mountains, showing the moment she suddenly fell out of the sky, dropping 2,000 feet in 2 minutes. Sabrina later writing, "I actually still can't believe that I'm sitting here typing this, and that aside from a few nasty bruises and some general contusions, absolutely nothing happened." Police say the pilot of the plane did not see her until it was too late to steer away. Some online finding the video hard to believe. One commenter posting, "When you hope it's AI." Another saying, "I'm now expecting to see recreations of this accident in action movies." Turns out it's already happened in the movies to a different person from Austria, Arnold Schwarzenegger. His parachute took a hit in the 1996 film Eraser. Unlike in Sabrina's case, the plane in the movie was trying to hit Arnold. But like Sabrina, he also landed safely.
And Sabrina is an experienced paraglider. She was actually later picked up by a police helicopter, but thankfully she's doing well.
Yeah, I was going to say, thank goodness she's okay. Coming up, the man trapped in a cave wedged between rocks for hours.
Yeah, you're not going to want to miss it. Also had a sporting event like none other. We take you to the enhanced games where performance-enhancing drugs are allowed. We're back with this unusual 6-hour rescue mission in upstate New York to save a man trapped in a cave. He slipped into this tight passage and was trapped by his ribcage and pelvis. Rescuers had to use a hammer drill to remove rock and free the man who had become hypothermic. After he warmed up, he gave high fives to the rescuers.
We turn now to a sporting event like none other, the enhanced games, where performance-enhancing drugs are allowed. Critics say the event destroys the concept of fair play. It's being called the Olympics on steroids.
Strength will be measured. Speed will be tested.
42 world-class athletes, some of them former Olympians, competed in the enhanced games in Las Vegas. While the Olympics go to great lengths to ensure performance-enhancing drugs don't poison the competition, the enhanced games encourage them. According to a new survey of most of the athletes, 91% used testosterone, 79% used human growth hormone, and 29% used anabolic steroids. Critics quick to condemn the event. The president of World Athletics saying no one within athletics takes the enhanced games seriously. And medical professionals warn of the many serious long-term health risks posed by PEDs. But athletes claim the money offered by the enhanced games was too good to pass up. Winners of each event walked away with $250,000.
He was telling me, why would I go back to the Olympics? If I go back to the Olympics, I'd be taking a pay cut. He said, I am making more over this 4-month stretch thanks to Enhance than I made after I medaled at the Olympic Games.
And breaking a world record results in a $1 million payday.
We have our first world record.
A Greek swimmer broke the record in the 50-meter freestyle. But Thorbjorn's son, better known as the Mountain from Game of Thrones, failed to break a world record he set last year in the deadlift. The company behind the event, financially backed by Donald Trump Jr.'s venture capital firm and tech billionaire Peter Thiel, is using the games to boost its business selling supplements. including peptides, which experts warn have an unproven safety record.
The event organizers say any enhancements had to be FDA approved and prescribed by licensed physicians, and not all athletes took performance-enhancing drugs. As always, consult your own doctor before using any new supplement.
In the NBA, the Spurs got a much-needed win last night. 7'4" center Victor Wembanyama nailing this half-court shot to end the first half. He finished with 33 points. The Spurs also had a little spiritual support as well. The so-called Spurs nuns were seen blessing the players before the game. And later, they were seated courtside wearing Spurs jerseys over their habits. That series now tied at 2 games each.
Looking good. Coming up, the TV star whose postage stamp is coming back by popular demand.
Also ahead, Taylor Swift's wedding guest controversy.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor.
Time to check the pulse. We begin with a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
The Mr. Rogers stamp is making a comeback. It's the winner of the Stamp Encore contest held by the post office to celebrate America's 250th birthday. When the Mr. Rogers stamp was first introduced in 2018, all 12 million copies sold out in a few weeks.
The Fred Rogers Institute says the stamp honors the enduring ties he built with his TV friends. Next, it's going to be very expensive to see the Knicks if they make the NBA Finals.
Yeah, they could advance with a win tonight, and now a pair of courtside seats to the finals in Madison Square Garden have been sold online for $279,000. That could buy you a house in some cities. Meanwhile, Travis Kelce was chugging a beer at the game Saturday. Taylor Swift's reaction to her fiance making that move going viral. The couple's upcoming wedding is also making headlines after the Daily Mail reported single guests won't be allowed to bring a +1, apparently for security reasons.
And a huge game in the NHL playoffs, the Golden Knights storming back from 3 goals down to beat the Avalanche. Las Vegas is now 1 win away from the Stanley Cup final.
Next, the Savannah Bananas game in Tennessee.
Former Tennessee Volunteer and New Orleans Saints star Alvin Kamara showed up, got everyone excited, but then he appeared to hurt himself, suffering a hamstring injury. No, just kidding. It was all an act. He was dancing on the field seconds later.
Next, a hard bargain after a player on the Pittsburgh Pirates hit his first major league home run. He wanted the ball, but the boy in the stands who got the ball wanted something in return for giving it up and then got on the phone with his dad. He then started negotiating with the Pirates bullpen. He wound up getting an autographed bat and a hat. And finally, a little boy very bored at his kindergarten graduation.
6-year-old Graham Reeves just couldn't sit still. He was so bored, he twiddled his thumbs, yawned, stretched, reclined in his chair. Graham's mom posted the video along with the caption, "You're 6, and the ceremony enters minute 37. Checking more top stories, Pope Leo is releasing a letter to bishops today addressing artificial intelligence. The document is focused on safeguarding humanity in the face of AI. The Pope will be joined by the co-founder of AI company Anthropic.
Crews overnight were trying to determine if a crack in this toxic chemical tank in Orange County, California, has reduced the chances of an explosion. The danger has forced some 50,000 local residents to evacuate.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says a peace deal with Iran is still a work in progress, but he claims there's a, quote, solid agreement in place to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and begin negotiations on nuclear issues.
A man spearfishing on Australia's Great Barrier Reef was killed by a shark. Authorities say at least one friend of the victim saw it happen. Bull sharks were seen nearby.
Today's weather, lots of Memorial Day rain across the country. The heaviest in the southeast could bring flooding from New Orleans to Atlanta.
And finally, on this Memorial Day, we hear from a member of the greatest generation.
Here's Danny New.
The Japanese launched a surprise attack.
This Memorial Day, we are hearing from a naval veteran who served during one of our country's darkest moments.
50 years ago, nobody paid any attention. I was a Pearl Harbor survivor. Big deal.
Well, at 106 years old, Freeman Johnson is now the oldest living survivor from the attack on Pearl Harbor, which reaches its 85th anniversary this year. Now there are less than a dozen left to share their story. Here's Johnson's. On that day in 1941, when the bomb started going off, this Massachusetts resident was deep inside the bowels of a light cruiser called the USS St. Louis.
I didn't see anything. Nothing. I was inside aboard a steam drum, which is about that big.
Thankfully, the St. Louis was able to evade attacks from small submarines. In fact, here is a message confirming the ship had passed through the channel, making it the first U.S. ship to make it out of Pearl Harbor during the attack.
We've been to a couple of schools, and the kids ask, were you scared? You're not scared. You're too busy.
Meanwhile, Americans have been busy over the past week preparing to honor and remember military service members this Memorial Day. The Old Guard once again placed U.S. flags at Arlington National Cemetery. And more than 7,000 decorated combat boots were stationed at a park in Rhode Island. Also, 2 centenarians who served in World War II together are preparing to reunite for the National Memorial Day Parade in D.C. Retired Marines Don Graves and William Byrd have been friends since 1945 and still regularly call each other.
I'll be glad to see him, I think. He'll probably be glad to see me, too.
By the way, guys, you know the iconic picture of the soldiers raising the flag on Iwo Jima? Well, both Don Graves and William Byrd were present that day in Iwo Jima when that photo was taken.
Unbelievable.
Crazy. That's your Good Morning America First Look.
Have a great day.